Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Community Transit Board of Directors meeting for September 7th, 2023. The Board of Directors meeting is conducted in a hybrid format, both in person and remote, and is recorded and live streamed. Today's board meeting has two opportunities for public comment. First, during a public hearing, we will take any comments related to the Zip Alderwood shuttle service. And once the public hearing closes, we will open the floor for general public comment. Rachel, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Councilmember Daughtry.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Frizzell.
Present.
Thank you so much.
Fresh out of a sound transit.
Excellent. Mayor Marine.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Mead.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Merrill.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Nearing.
Here.
Thank you. Labor Representative Norton.
Here. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Peterson. Mayor Roberts.
I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilmember Schweddy.
Present.
Chair, we have a quorum of board members. Looking at our board alternates, looks like we have Councilmember Payne in attendance as well as Member Gallagher.
Present.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That concludes roll.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing on the Zip Alderwood shuttle service is now open. We received 90 comments to date. These comments will be packaged and provided to the board prior to the October board meeting. In verbal comments, each speaker has 3 minutes to provide comments. And we have one person on the list to speak, and that's Sherry Shepherd. Is she here? Is she online? Okay, I don't see her. So is there anyone else present that would like to make a comment on the Linwood shuttle service? What about anyone that's on Zoom? Okay, if there is no comment, then the public hearing is now closed. Our public comments for September the 7th, each speaker has 3 minutes to provide comments. Is there anyone in room who would like to speak? I think this is a first. Okay, is there anyone online who would like to speak? Okay, public comment is now closed. I don't know, that was, yeah. I could always talk. And then to find my thing. Okay, now we're down to the executive officer's report, which is definitely going to be a report today.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Good to see you all today. Maybe my report will generate some public comment at our next board meeting. I want to begin today updating the board on the study that has been conducted by the University of Washington on detecting the presence of residual drugs on board transit vehicles. That study was completed and released this morning. And it did find the presence of trace amounts of fentanyl and methamphetamine on board a sampled set of buses and trains within the region. The study looked at vehicles operated by Sound Transit, King County Metro, Community Transit, and TriMet. Everett Transit was also part of the study, although their vehicles were not sampled. I'm going to ask Roland to join me in the report today to talk through a little bit about how we are responding to this. I want to start by saying this is a serious situation. The study had somewhat mixed results. The results reflect the presence of drug residues, albeit at trace levels, levels that don't appear to pose an immediate threat to employees or riders. but it's nonetheless troubling that these substances have been detected, and we need to take that seriously and respond to it. So we are going to respond assertively based on the recommendations from the University of Washington and in consultation with the public health authorities. We are going to step up our efforts to deter this activity. We are going to upgrade all the filtration across our fleet, and we are going to engage in a deep cleaning process of the fleet to establish a new baseline from which we can then begin to monitor whether these residues begin to build back up again. So to talk a little bit more about those items, I've asked Roland to join us, and I've also asked Jeff and Cesar to be here to help answer any questions you may have once we go through our response. So Roland, do you want to give the board a sense of where we're headed next?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. As Rick described, our actions on this are immediate. We're taking this seriously. We're concerned for our employees' well-being. And as he shared, we're really focusing on 4 primary areas, and I'll walk through those: deterrence, filtration, cleaning, and then an ongoing monitoring program. So first, under deterrence, as we've shared throughout the year, community transit is underway with growing a transit security officer program. That is a new endeavor for community transit, but it's in response to the ongoing level of unacceptable behavior that we've seen in our system building over the last couple of years, and the board's been a strong supporter of that. We, in the current phase, are authorized for up to 18 security officers by the end of the year, and we are rapidly moving toward that goal. We currently have 11 of them on staff. Nearly all of them are through the training program, and we continue to aggressively recruit and hire toward that 18 target. As we've talked in the past about the TSOs, they have a number of roles on the system, but primarily it's around enforcing our rules of conduct, one of which is the prohibition against use and smoking of illegal drugs on transit. And so this is one of the things they're really focusing on. They are one of our most important tools in deterring this behavior on the system. And we are already receiving positive feedback from our staff and our customers about their presence out there on the system. And we are focusing them in the areas where we see this activity the most. So that's an important part of our strategy. Also, just important to note in terms of rules of conduct, that was also a piece that we put in place in the past year. And this behavior is prohibited outright in the rules of conduct. And it's important to note that coach operators are empowered when they see smoking of drugs on their vehicle to stop that vehicle, to approach the customer and to insist that the behavior stop and that they leave that vehicle if they do not stop. And of course, they have the backup and support of supervisors, of the ambassadors, of the transit security officers and the transit police unit, a multi-pronged approach to helping and supporting them in that carrying out of the rules of conduct. So deterrence, filtration, a really important strategy here. And as Rick noted, we are underway already with conversion of our entire fleet from a MERV 7 or MERV 11 level filter to a MERV 13 level. And we have tested those filters. We've been aware that they're very effective at filtering out smoke particles, including drug smoke and also virus particles. They'll be helpful in both wildfire smoke mitigation, but also in this effort around drug smoke. And so we have procured a large quantity of these from the local market. Those are on hand or in shipment currently. And our current target right now is to have the entire fleet here at Merrill Creek or at the Merrill Creek base completely converted by the end of September. The articulated fleet at Cache Park also converted within that time frame. And then we are actively working with Alexander Dennis, the manufacturer of our double-decker buses for both community transit and sound transit, on a MERV 13 solutions for those vehicles. They have a different shaped aperture and it's a little more complex to get the MERV 13s in place, but we're working that problem and we'll be pursuing that as quickly as we can. So filtration is a key strategy. And as you know, when I get done talking about cleaning, we'll kind of talk about that overall program and about monitoring moving forward. On the cleaning front, we have some catch up to do and then also some ongoing diligence. And so where we detected this material, the belief is that it's been there for some time, where we detected it at the higher levels that the study highlighted in a handful of cases. And so we want to work hard to establish a new baseline of cleanliness for the entire fleet. And we are working with a vendor community that is a specialized group of vendors that are certified to do this kind of cleanup work. And so we're learning about the specific detergents, cleaning compounds to break down and clean up the residue from these drugs. We are coordinating actively with both that vendor community and also with public health on a strategy that will be uniquely tailored to the public transit context. We're really blazing some new territory here in terms of the technology has been oriented around cleanup of things like drug labs and structures and not public transit vehicles. So we need to complete that research and development with the experts that we're working with. We're doing that as quickly as we can. We are already in active procurement and already in active communication with public health on that. They're being very supportive as we work through that process. And our goal would be to complete that cleaning, establish that new baseline as quickly as we can. And then moving forward, we are also beginning conversations with our regular cleaning vendor to ensure that they are both aware of the issue and also that we can maintain the new baseline that we establish in the cleaning process and prevent accumulation of these drug compounds at the levels that we've detected in this study. Once this is complete, the idea is that we've done the cleaning, we've established that new baseline, we've installed the MERV 13 filtration that should substantially mitigate accumulation of smoke should it occur on the vehicle, and also have fully implemented deterrence and continued our due diligence around both reporting of smoking, action when smoking occurs on the bus, and deterrence in terms of that physical presence. Once that is fully in place, our goal is that we don't end up back here, that we really have established a much a cleaner system, and that we can demonstrate that we're not reaching these levels that have been triggered in the study. And so in order to ensure that, as part of this work that we're doing with both the experts in the vendor community and also with our public health partners, we'll be designing a monitoring program that allows us to ensure that we are maintaining a level of cleanliness on the system. And so that will be developed in concurrence with the cleaning program, and those conversations are already underway. So that really summarizes, I think, the key strategies that we're underway with at this time. I would also just note that in terms of our employees, we've been actively engaged throughout the day over in operations in the Great Hallway, talking to both operators and our maintenance staff and sharing this information as proactively as we can. Our ATU labor partners and IAM labor partners have been involved in the conversations throughout the day, and we'll continue to be keeping them in dialogue as we move through these solutions and actions.
Great. Thanks, Roland. I want to express gratitude to our employees and to the University of Washington. These are concerns the board heard about quite a bit going back a couple of years. You know, they asked a legitimate question, you know, what is going on and what is the potential risk of this increased activity? And so we took that seriously and engaged with the University of Washington, with our transit partners to try to find some answers. And, you know, we asked the question, we can't shy away from what we've learned here. And so we're taking it very seriously. And I want to respect the concerns of the employees because they are on the front line and they see this every day and they're often the first to report what's going on out there. So we'll be in continuing consultation with them as we go forward. And there's probably a lot more we can learn here, given the narrow nature of this study, and I'm sure it'll continue to be a topic of conversation. Madam Chair, I've got a number of other routine items to report on, but I want to pause there, given that this is breaking news, and ask if the board has any questions or comments they'd like to ask or share.
You can start. I'll wait till last.
Okay, thank you, CEO Hogan Fritz. Appreciate the report from both of you. I appreciate the work community transit's done on this and on security in general. So I want to preface with that. Yeah, I mean, this is really upsetting. Not that community transit has responded appropriately, and I think you put a good plan in place, but it's upsetting that the taxpayer has to pay for this type of behavior. And I think our community is growing really tired of this. And I think this is just yet another wake up call for this state. And I hope that since it's a organization like the University of Washington, instead of a bunch of mayors and police chiefs talking about it, maybe it'll cause people to take it a little more seriously. But I think, you know, we ought to look at it as a transit community, and maybe there's other transit organizations, at what type of laws the legislature might pass to give us some more tools to effectively deter this type of behavior on coaches, you know. And I just think it's one thing to have this type of activity in open space where you can avoid it. It's another if I've got my grandkid on a coach or on a link light rail, taking them to a hockey game, and I got to deal with this and I can't get off. You know, that's a whole different set of circumstances. And it's very upsetting to a lot of people I know that I've talked to. And I personally, you know, do ride public transit down to a lot of events down in Seattle, and have seen a lot of activities that just shouldn't take place on there. And so I think we've got to get serious as an industry if we're going to protect the law abiding people that pay the bills and that ride our services. We've got to get serious about, you know, going to the state and going to others and saying, we've got to make some changes here. This is unacceptable. And the only other thing I would offer, and I think you put together a really good plan. I mean that when I say, you know, Rick's been all over this since day one, and you were very responsive to the board's request on this whole area. And Roland, you did a really nice job there outlining it. The only thing I would ask to see if we might tweak, and I don't know if this is possible, if somebody is smoking fentanyl on one of our coaches, I would like to see them removed from the coach. You don't get a second, you know, not a, hey, if you stop smoking fentanyl, you get to stay on the coach. I think you've struck out right there. You've demonstrated you have zero interest in following the protocols and the safety measures. And I know, you know, most people would be pretty upset if they had to sit back and watch that, and then they had to continue their drive and know that person was still on the coach. And I'm frankly not that concerned about that person's ability to ride a coach at that point. I'd rather protect the people that are on there for the right reasons. So I don't know, there may be legal restrictions in there. I would ask us maybe to look into that. Other than that, I think your plan is really great, and I appreciate the work you've done. Thanks.
If I could respond to your question real quick. Yeah, I want to emphasize a point Roland made, that under the rules of conduct adopted by this board last fall, coach operators, supervisors have the authority to stop a coach and deny service. And we have, in addition to that, transit security officers and transit police available to support those staff if they encounter non-compliance. Anecdotally, what we find is when a denial of services is issued, in other words, a request to leave the coach, they get compliance. It's rare that there's an escalation. But I feel like we do have the tools in place within the community transit policies to exclude that kind of behavior from the service.
Thank you.
Okay, did you have something? Oh,
I think mine will be quicker than Joe's. So I just had a quick question for Roland. Not knowing much how this works. I mean, obviously a lot of this is smoked. It's pills and stuff that's smoked. I'm wondering, do we have any sense of how much, I mean, this is a pretty scientific, pretty high level intensive ability to get into the lab and find stuff where most people wouldn't be affected by it. How much of it is, I mean, is there, how can I say this? Are people like just bringing it on their clothes and their hands and touching the rails and stuff? Or is this, do we think this is pretty much active drug use all the time on the bus?
I guess I would leave the definitive answer up to the scientists that did the study, but what we have heard in the briefings to date is that both are possible.
I can also add to that, Mayor Roberts, that the media availability was recorded, and we can make that recording available for you to view, so you can hear the responses that were given from the public health officials in that regard. It's really both. It's far less likely to be the result of direct use because our deterrence has increased. But it is ambient. And one of the things we don't know is really how long, over what period of time did these residues accumulate? So this cleaning strategy and the filtration strategy and the monitoring approach that Roland has described will give us a way to determine that. So that's what we'll do.
So it's not always caused by active smoking necessarily. It could be somebody could have smoked in the bathroom and come in and, you know, reeking it or whatever, right?
Right.
So, but yeah, hats off to the agency for hopping on this and the filtering and the cleaning, and we'll just have to see where it goes. Cause I mean, I think everybody's in the same boat with this, right? Pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go to the first one, Joe.
All right.
You know,
Thank you, Chair. I agree 100% with what Mayor Naring was saying. We need to definitely get a handle on this, but I can't tell you how impressed I am that Community Transit took the lead on this. You know, they say, don't ask the question if you don't want to know the answer. And there was no reason for us to go out and do this, except that we care about our employees and the people riding that bus, and you need to know what effect this is having. If I'm not mistaken, we're probably the first transit agency in the country to do this, probably the first agency in the state. And although I'm glad to hear that they say it may not have an effect, I think there's a lot we don't know yet. But I just really want to say that I'm impressed to take the lead and go where nobody else has gone and check this out. And then we'll probably be leading the industry in terms of how to deal with it. So thank you for your leadership, and thank you, staff, for doing this.
Yeah, I'm appreciative of everything that we've done so far, but I'm gonna get in the weeds a little bit, Roland. What I'm interested in going forward is the process that you're gonna be using for monitoring, especially being in the nuclear power program in the Navy. I'm pretty confident in my abilities to be monitoring things with the swiping methods and things like that. But I know it takes a lot of equipment, a lot of personal time and things like that. So what I'm looking for in the future, not today, of course, but are we gonna, we're gonna see obviously a ask for how much money it's gonna take to stand all this up, right? So I'm hoping that comes pretty quick and when you get your cleaning and things. So I have a couple questions about the cleaning. Are we using our people to do the initial cleaning on these? Or is it our cleaning vendor that's doing the initial cleaning?
We're to be determined. We're in an active procurement now with the vendor community that is certified to do this very specialized work. And so at a minimum, we will be consulting with that community. We may also be employing them at a certain level to do some of the work. It's too early to say at this point exactly who will be performing the cleaning itself. But they will definitely be involved in helping us create that plan along with public health. And of course, we're, working with our internal employees as well. I would say at a minimum, in addition to the cleaning program that we're going to be looking at, we will also and have already started to look at our internal maintenance processes where they intersect the surfaces, the materials, things like the filters. And so, I guess I also want to just acknowledge my team here that I've got behind me with Mike Swayla and Jim Williams and Scott Eastman that, along with many others here, they've been working on this issue, but Mike's team on the maintenance side, already beginning to look at things like how do we install or replace filters. The whole maintenance program will be looked at in this new light for safety and best practice around that. So we will definitely commit to getting back to the board with costs, with procedures and practices. We're just in the beginning stages of that, really that R&D process to design that work.
So I'm also sure you're probably looking into having some of those vendors that we're looking at maybe train the trainers for us.
It's possible.
hey, Lance.
Thank you. I appreciate the fact that there's a lot more attention being given to this problem. But as a representative of the transit operators and I'm sorry. So now everybody could hear me except these two people. I'm curious about to what extent, I have a few questions, would the operators be involved in having users, if you will. I mean, there's different ways of doing these drugs now that they got pills and they have, you see people burning things and the aroma coming up. And I'm curious because the fact that an operator would get out of the seat and go back and tell somebody to refrain from continuing doing what you're doing. Furthermore, I want you off the coach. The problem is, if the operator does that, then the next time that individual or individuals get on the coach, number one, they're going to know that that was the operator that caused them to be evicted off the coach. And also, the operator's involvement bothers me. For example, we call security. Does the operator call security and say somebody came up and reported, or I can tell that there's some action going on in the back of the coach? Do I get out of the seat and go back, or should I wait till one of the security officers come? And by the way, as far as security officers, 18 is a goal, I understand. But of the 18, how many would be on duty on any given day? It's not 18. How many routes do we have? Probably around 4 that have a lot of action going on those routes, for example. And there's routes that, I mean, I can't believe some operators are actually being paid to run these buses. They're so, not crowded with individuals that are out doing some crazy stuff. Would the coach be taken out of duty? Would the coach be brought back to the base so immediate cleaning can be done when an individual or individuals are evicted from the coach? Is that coach going to stay in service without being cleaned up? Or should it perhaps stop immediately and wait for a transfer to a clean coach and then continue with the individuals that were on the contaminated coach? How, I know it's early in this process. I'm not asking for answers right now. I'm asking that perhaps these questions might be valid enough to look into. I could tell you one last thing. I can tell you a story real quick. I'll make it, but I drove for 36 years. I was a 3 million mile safe driver. I'm patting myself on the back all the time. As you get old, you try to remember a few things you did good when you were younger. So therefore, with those miles and that driving, they had to get me out of the seat, so they elected to be president of the local. But seriously, I mean, I remember back in New Jersey going into New York City and all those routes that there was, for example, Newark was a difficult city to go in and out. And a lot of times people weren't on drugs so much as alcohol. And they would get on the bus, and this was their night inside on a nice warm coach. And they were intoxicated when they got on, and they continued drinking. So when the coach was finished its duty, the driver would take it to the barn, and the coaches all went through a wash. What the mechanics did when the operator came in, I honest to God, the mechanics would then say this, if they said to the driver, got any problems with the coach? Oh yeah, we got a couple sleepers in the back. Sleepers, no problem. And the driver would get all his materials and everything and step off the coach, and the mechanics or the equipment service people would go into the coach and open the windows. All the windows would be opened. These are older coaches, folks, not like these nice coaches we have today. And there would then be an interior wash. And they would run the coach through with all the windows open. And before the driver got to where he checked in, you could hear the screaming. And honestly, for the next couple of nights, there wasn't anybody falling asleep on the coach. I know it's a little side story, a little sick, with that humor and everything. We can't do that today. I understand that. I just put a little levity into these situations. So I thank you all for what you're doing. And I know you'll be concerned with the operators and the passengers and all of that. And it is so much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, okay, one more, Tom.
Okay, thank you. I did want to comment that I am very impressed that Community Transit took a lead on this and has looked at it, looking for questions that we might not like the answer to. And I like the comments that Mayor Naring made that we need to look for stepping up what we can do in the society with our laws, with our states and our local law enforcement. What I think I've heard in here that what we're going to do is community transit. And it seems like we're covering everything that we can do, but it does suggest from this study that there's additional work to be done outside of just what is in our transportation system. So I worry about, it suggests to me to begin worrying about or thinking about any of our enclosed public spaces anywhere at all. And whether we start with some of our shelters that we have at community transit and then any restrooms we may have, but you begin thinking about what are our public spaces like in stadiums or anywhere else. So I think this is just the start of this conversation as a society and with the public. But I just want to say thank you for taking care of and looking out in a proactive manner, looking out for our employees and our customers and the public in general, and knowing that this is going to lead to other things later on probably. So
Thank you. So I have I'm sorry. Oh, Christine, go ahead.
I didn't want to be left out here, but
Oh.
and just a reminder that Community Transit wasn't the only organization that was looked at. We have partnerships all along the Puget Sound area. And as we become more and more connected, problems from one organization, challenges, they roll over into other organizations. And this was not just a study on community transit. As I mentioned, when I hurriedly popped in here, I just came out of one of my committee meetings with Sound Transit, and they are working on this extremely fast as well. We're all playing a little catch up. It kind of reminds me of COVID. When we first heard about COVID, what did we do? What were the protocols? What worked? What didn't work? And I read through the report. I skimmed the 30-some page report, but went to the end where it talked about recommendations. And I just applaud both organizations that I'm associated with. I was saying, now that we know better, we have to do better. And we have to do better, not for the people sitting up here, but for all the wonderful people that ride the buses, and more importantly are the ones that drive the buses. They are the ones that are in these coaches 8 hours plus a day in and day out. And we are very concerned about the impacts. And I just look forward to moving forward and getting the best resolutions. So thank you for everyone's part here and continuing to throw the ideas out there. And thank you, Lance, for talking about, what are the questions? And are we asking the right questions? Are we asking enough of the right questions? Are we asking enough of ourselves? And it'll be a challenging time, and we'll get through it together.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else before I ask? Okay. Well, I'll ask Rick. Is it possible for Roland to put what he said today into something that we can post on our Facebook page so that more people read it, and then have somebody here? I'm sure we have somebody here because I see them answer questions ever so often. But watch, and then when people start, because this is not going to go away, it is going to expand. And if we have someone who can answer those questions, so that, because somebody else will have the same one. So if that's possible,
Sure.
That would be great.
Absolutely. And I may put Jeff on the spot over there and ask him to comment on this a little bit. We do have a internal and external communications plan to support our efforts here, to engage employees and to respond to customers and partners and stakeholders in the community. Jeff, you want to And that would include a social media component.
Okay.
Do you want to add anything to that, Jeff?
Sure, I think is this working? Our overall approach is to try to provide information about our responses to this and also relevant context too. I think the transit agencies did a lot of work together in anticipating this rollout to marshal public health voices and to sort of reassure people that while these issues are of concern and they merit our actions, they also are not significant threats to the public or operators. One anecdote that we've from one of the people we quoted today pointed out that if you take the areas like where they had the highest surface concentrations and you imagine like 1 grain of sugar, the amount in that square centimeter would be equivalent to 21 millionths of that 1 grain of sugar. So we're doing our best to try to provide relevant context for people about these issues, and our news release and other materials could be amplified on social media, and you could look at our website and grab that, or feel free to reach out to me and I'll help personally with it.
Okay, thank you. I had one real quick thing to ask Roland. One of the biggest complaints I get in Arlington is the druggies that are sleeping in our transit center. And I know that if they're smoking fentanyl there, it's most likely going in the air and may not touch anyone else, but the surface thing. And so I guess what I would like to know is how often do we clean a transit place like that? I mean, there's multiple, it's a large one and we've got them all over. And with this, trust me, I will have emails by the time I get home tonight on the ones that are up there and,
We can certainly provide the board with, with information about our cleaning protocols at facilities. I can tell you, and what I can immediately tell you is there are a cycle of different visits throughout the week in terms of, trash collection every couple days. We have throughout the day, multiple visits throughout any given service day by supervisory staff, et cetera, to ensure that things are in order. We also have a regular cycle of deep cleans that involve our facility staff doing pressure washing, et cetera, as well as cleanup by landscape crews on a regular cycle. So we can get you the details on how often that is occurring, but it's a pretty in-depth program of cleaning that attends to any maintenance issues as well as cleanliness issues.
Well, thank you, because I will tell you, it's certainly not just me. Every one of us sitting up here, we will have people asking us questions all the time. So expect that. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. And I want to thank the board for your support and your questions. I want to reassure you as well that it's not lost on staff that there is a cost here. And we may be coming back and asking the board for additional resources to respond. We're fortunate in the expertise we have available to us to shape the approach. We've got a crackerjack industrial hygienist back there who's going to help us make sure we've got the right approach to cleaning. And I think Council Member Daughtry, to your question, the extent to which we blend maintenance employees with outside resources will be informed by how quickly we want to move and how long it's going to take to get through the fleet. More capacity will help us move faster. So that's part of what we're looking at. So I thank the board for your support and questions, and we will obviously keep you very closely apprised as we move forward. I do have a couple other items to report if there's no further questions on that. And if there are, we can revisit them later in the meeting as well. I did want to let the board know that we had coordinated with Sound Transit over the course of the last several months as it moved toward a decision on whether to start up a starter line on the east side. To clarify that doing so wouldn't impair their ability to marshal enough resources to open the Linwood Link project. You'll recall that the East Link extension that crosses I-90 is critical to providing enough train capacity from the east side base to fully serve Snohomish County. And we're not going to have that full service in Snohomish County until that East Link across I-90 is completed. And that's likely to be a year or more after Linwood Link opens. So we worked with Mayor Frizzell, Mayor Franklin of Everett, Executive Summers, the three Snohomish County delegates to the Sound Transit Board to support them and answer their questions about these issues. And Mayor Franklin, in coordination with her colleagues, advanced an amendment at the last Sound Transit Board meeting, directing the staff there to provide sufficient resources to operate Linwood Link to the full possible extent, even though it'll still just be half the service, and also to work with us to provide supplemental bus service should crowding occur once the light rail system opens. I see there's a typo in my CEO report. It says should crowing occur, and I suspect there could be crowing, so maybe it's not a typo. Anyway, we're very grateful to the mayor and her Sound Transit Board colleagues for advocating on behalf of Snohomish County commuters. I suspect this will be an issue that we'll revisit frequently over the course of the next several months as we move toward next September to figure out how best we can provide a positive customer experience in the corridor when we restructure our network and begin flowing passengers and more frequent service to Linwood and introducing people to the light rail experience. So thank you for that. On a lighter note, we attended the Washington State Transit Association Annual Conference last week or the week before last. And I'm delighted to report that we had a couple rodeo participants this year, and our very own Matt Chomjack won the rodeo and the 40-foot bus competition, and he now advances to the nationals. So we have a star player over in Hardison Road, Merrill Creek Operating Base, and you can see Jim smiling over there. The whole crew is super proud of Matt, and we had another coach operator, Brendan, who also participated for the first time in the 35-foot category, and he's super excited to come back and keep trying next year. So once we open the training base across the road, we'll have a place where we can really let our most competitive drivers go to work and prep for those competitions. We also had Amber Nichols, who was our 2022 chair awardee, and you remember Amber and Tron, our CEO award winner. One of our dispatchers came to the conference and were honored by WashDOT on the WashDOT Hall of Fame. So that was really fun to have everybody down there, and also to be able to network with our colleagues around the state. Couple quick hits on the capital program front. We have a new Swift station in operation at Highway 99 and 196th, and that is going to be the new station that will create the easy connection between the orange line when it opens and the blue line. So we're really excited about that. And that station features our new Swift station design with the redesigned windscreens to make it easier and safer for our customers to use. So that's just a taste, and Orange Line is on schedule for opening next March. And if you happen to be driving the Orange Line corridor out there, you'll see completed stations with wraps and signs showing service coming soon in March 2024. So that's exciting. The Hardison Road campus, our former admin building with our former board meeting, is almost complete in the remodeling to become our new transportation headquarters, and we're looking forward to moving staff into that building late this year, probably in December, and we'll be holding an open house or a dedication of some kind similar to what we did here at Cascade, and we'll keep you posted on potential dates for that event. So we're very excited about that as well. On the financial front, the Washington State Auditor's Office is expecting to wrap up their 2022 audit. So you should see an exit conference on your calendar for the week of September 18th. And that'll be, that's good news. They're moving toward closure on the 2022 audit. So far, so good there. On the hiring front, and then I'll wrap up, we are at 371 coach operators with 35 trainees in the pipeline. Our target for opening Orange Line next March is 381. So we're in very good shape for next March. We still have a ways to go for next September, but we're on the right path. We need about 10 more, and we'll be there. In terms of mechanics, we've added 11 this year. We need to hire another 5 or 6 by the end of the year, and then a few more next spring to be ready for March. So the hiring continues to proceed apace. Starting this week, We're going to move transit security officers to a 2 p.m. to midnight shift, 7 days a week. One TSO is now working with our social worker 3 days a week. We have a total of 11, including Isaiah back there at the back of the room. Thanks for being here, who are out there. We've got one more who's joined this week and 3 who've been given contingent offers. So we feel confident we're going to get to the full level of 18 staffing by the end of this year. So that, Madam Chair, concludes my report.
Quick question. How many of the sheriff's deputies do we have out there now? I mean, I know they took away a bunch, but
I don't know, Roland, do you? We may have to, or maybe Scott does.
sorry.
Sergeant DeWitt.
12
12
out of
deputies.
18.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I know someone asked how many we had at a time. I think that was Lance, wasn't it? So how many do we normally have? I mean, not just the sheriff's, but ours too, on a particular schedule.
Oh, in terms of in the moment at a
Yeah.
particular time on any given shift. I might glance over here at Scott, or perhaps Scott, if you wanted to step up and just talk about the shift or shift structure here.
So our focus has been on that 2 to midnight shift. And so we'll have 6 TSOs scheduled 7 days a week, 2 to midnight. And then we'll have 3 TSOs 7 days a week working 5 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Oh, okay. Excellent, thank you. Anyone else have any questions before we move on?
I do.
Okay, we are.
I do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I just wanted to clarify Rick's report that the meeting for Sound Transit, should you go looking for it, did not happen on August 10th. It was August 24th. So
Right, you are.
I went and looked at it actually yesterday because I missed that meeting because I,
Yeah, the 10th was the committee meeting. And then it came to the full board for approval on the 24th.
with the amendment,
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you for that clarification.
sure.
Okay, next on the agenda is our committee reports. And mine is the first and extremely short. The executive committee met on August 17th. Councilmember Merrill, Mayor Marine, Mayor Roberts and I attended, and the CEO provided his report. The next executive committee meeting is scheduled for September the 21st at 11:30. So the next person is Mayor Roberts.
Okay, thank you. The Finance Performance and Oversight Committee met on Thursday, August 17th, 2023 in a Zoom format. Board members, Mayor John Naring and Councilmember Jared Mead attended. There were consent items, approval, number 1, approval of July 2023 monthly expenditures and payroll vouchers. There'll be items 7F through J on the consent agenda. Number 2, approval of a surplus of 22 double-decker buses, which will be on item 7C, excuse me. Action items, the committee reviewed and recommended one action item for the board's consideration. That's resolution number 1-23. A hazard mitigation plan will be item 8B. In terms of reports, there, number 1 is the Q2 2023 Transit Police Report. Lieutenant Glenn DeWitt, Transit Police Unit, presented the Q2 Transit Police Report. A copy of this report is included in your packet. The Q2 2023 Financial Report unaudited, Lori Fox, Controller, presented to the committee the unaudited financial report for Q2 2023. Copy of this report is also included in your packet. Number 3, Sales Tax Report for 2023 unaudited. In July 2023, Community Transit collected approximately 17 million in sales tax revenue, approximately 30,000 less than budgeted. Copy of this report is also in your packet. Number 4, the diesel fuel report and updated report for July 2023. The average cost year to date through July 2023 was $3.53 per gallon, while the average cost per gallon budgeted for 2023 was $4.25. This resulted in a favorable variance of 72 cents a gallon year to date through July. In other business, Rick Elgenfritz, Chief Executive Officer, held an executive session with committee members. And the next Finance, Performance and Oversight Committee meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. Thursday, July 21st, 2023 via Zoom. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Did I say July?
oh.
You're listening. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Yeah, July 21st, 2023.
Okay, Councilmember Merrill.
Okay, the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee meeting was held remotely over Zoom on August 16th at 2. The meeting was attended by Councilmember Daughtry, Mayor Marine, Labor Rep Norton, and Councilmember Merrill. The committee reviewed and forwarded 2 consent items to today's agenda. SS 25-11, the Hastus Vehicle and Crew Scheduling Software Upgrade and Implementation of MIN Bus Module, and the RFP 82-15 Corporate Data Storage Hardware. The committee reviewed and forwarded 2 action items to today's agenda. The ITB 2023-79 purchase of 5 supervisor replacement vehicles, and the resolution number 2-23 adopting the 2023 to 2028 Transit Development Plan. The next meeting of the Strategic Alignment and Capital Development Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, September 20th at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I get someone to, for a motion on the consent items?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So now we are down to action items. The first one is the approval of resolution 02-23 for the 2023 to 2028 Transit Development Plan.
Okay, is this working? Okay, great, that's me. Hi, I'm Sophie Luthen. I manage strategic planning, and I'm here to give you a quick overview of the 2023 to 2028 TDP. Great. So a quick reminder, what is the TDP? The Transit Development Plan is an annual plan. It's a 6-year plan, including the current year and following 5 years. It's required by Washington state law, and it provides an overview of our agency, our accomplishments, and our plans for that 6-year period. And here at CT, we view the TDP as implementing our long-range planning efforts, and then the TDP informs our annual budget process. And just a quick recap of how we got here today. So we started developing this plan way back in May with staff and the ELT. We came to the July board meeting and gave a presentation on the draft plan that kicked off a public comment period in July, concluding with a public hearing at the August Board of Directors meeting. We then went to the SACD committee meeting and are now here kind of wrapping things up at the September board meeting. And on the next few slides, I will recap some of the highlights of this TDP. This is information that you saw previously, and I'll touch on just the changes that were made to this final draft from the earlier draft. So starting with our strategic priorities. So CT is committed to delivering excellent service and building the future, and we will do this by attracting and retaining customers, prioritizing sustainability, and strengthening the employee experience. These strategic priorities are a new initiative for our agency this year that has been rolled out to this board and through to staff. And these priorities support our vision, our mission, our core values, and we've gone through an agency goal setting process to kind of lay out how we will achieve these priorities. In terms of service, we anticipate significant service growth through 2028. So starting with full implementation of the transit changes in 2024 and beyond. It's a mouthful, network. So that's planned from 2024 when light rail is extended to Snohomish County through 2026. And then we expect to continue growing service beyond that, leading into additional SWIFT expansions and just general increases in our service levels in those outer years. In addition to service, we have some major ongoing initiatives. So starting with our zero emissions fleet transition. So this is one of the updates that was made to this final version of the plan compared to what was in the earlier draft. So we captured the side-by-side pilot approach in 2024 and then the extended pilot approach in 2024 through 2029. This is what was discussed with the board at the July board workshop, leading to kind of a decision point in 2029 to allow us to kind of refine our ultimate strategy for zero emission. Our long-term strategy for zero emission, including that horizon date that was discussed of 2044, will be formalized in the long-range plan. And then additional details on our zero emission strategy will also be formalized in the facilities master plan and in our annual budget cycles. Our capital program has a lot going on as well, with SWIFT expansion going on, with the Orange Line set to launch shortly, as well as planning for our Green Line extension, Gold Line, and Blue Line extension also underway, as well as our facilities master plan, which is a very dramatic renovation of really all of our facilities, essentially spanning multiple years. We're optimizing our fleet in preparation for that 2024 and beyond network. We've got additional innovative services, pilot areas. So Arlington, Darrington, Lake Stevens are the next areas slated to be launched on top of that ZIP pilot that's ongoing currently. Security continues to be a high priority for the agency. I won't cover that anymore because I think we've covered that in this meeting, but standing up the TSO program and so on. And then recruitment, I think Rick already covered this, but we are, I think, on track for our 2024 and beyond service needs in terms of the recruitment that needs to happen to meet those service plans. And then the TDP is a financially constrained plan. So the financial chapter outlines how we will fund our planned investments through 2028. The financial chapter of the plan was updated to capture both the latest assumptions for this year's budget process, which is ongoing, as well as assumptions around zero emission, again, coming out of that July board workshop, just captured the cost assumptions that were described in that workshop in the TDP to make those consistent. Sales tax revenues have continued to grow year over year, but growth is slowing. That said, our modeling that was done for this TDP shows that we are financially sustainable as an agency. And then we went through, like I said, a 30-day public comment period. You should have received a copy of all the public comments in your board packet if you would like to read through those. We allowed people to submit public comments via email, phone, social media, mail, and then at our public hearing at the August Board of Directors meeting. We received 18 emails, 1 Facebook comment, and 1 verbal public comment at that August hearing. And then following the public comment period, the updated TDP was brought to the SACD committee, who recommended that the Board of Directors approve Resolution 02-23, adopting the final 2023 to 2028 Transit Development Plan. And I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple
Sid.
comments,
Yeah, go ahead.
questions. Thank you, Sophie, appreciate it.
Yeah.
One of the pages, I don't know which one it was, I printed it out, but it's the one that is actually 35 in the packet. It talks about system ridership, and there's a comment that, excuse me, community transit ridership is expected to surpass pre-pandemic 2019 ridership levels, excuse me, in 2025 and grow between 13 and 15 million riders by 2028. I've been reading articles, as we all have, that say that we're never going to back to pre-pandemic life, right? That a lot of things were different. Excuse me. Have we cleaned this room? Just wondered about that. So what I'm wondering is, we're talking about growing service, and are we doing that? What are we doing to get back those people to ride the buses again? And one of the things I noticed in the comments was the comment about transfers. It seemed there's several people that said, wow, if I got to make a transfer, it just no longer works for me to take, 2 buses. So I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking in terms of my own background, in real estate, if we're improving our amount of cash coming in by getting more units, and we're not improving the vacancy rate, we're not really doing anything. So in other words, if we're just adding more service and we're not really intrinsically, getting ridership back. And I just am hoping, I'm encouraged by what I see happening with the ZIP and the test in other areas. I'm feeling like that getting people to where they can get transit accessible and easy will be really important. So that's just my comment, and I'm just grateful that we're looking outside the box to try to figure out how to do this. I'd say for the agency to go 10 or 12 years down the road and say, wow, there's been a big shift and we missed it. And so I appreciate the fact that this is a yearly update and you're always looking at the data. So I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, one other question. Are we looking at the impact of people looking for affordable housing and now being able to work remote and moving further and further out? We're hearing about people saying, I just can't get housing in where I wanted it before. So I would just, you don't really have to answer that, but that's just something, a comment that I would make. So.
Yeah, and yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with your comment about the ZIP pilot, and that along with that overall innovative services program is one of the ways that we can reach more customers. Like you said, people's patterns have shifted, and we don't necessarily fully understand what how things will settle. We're, in a kind of post-COVID world, but you're right, it likely won't go back. And I would say stay tuned for the long range plan as well. We addressed that to some extent in the long range plan, although there are a lot of unknowns. But things like midday service, adding service to new areas with the ZIP pilot and so on are all things that should help with that. And we'll really just have to keep monitoring things.
Thank you for looking into that. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions?
John? I was just going to make a motion, but
If I may, Madam Chair,
sure, go right
I
ahead.
can't resist commenting on a great planning question. So thank you for asking that, because it's really like the capital B, capital Q question for transit, not just us, but for the industry. How do we adapt and how do we remain relevant and respond to what people need in this new era? And so a couple observations. These planning assumptions are based in part on, in large part on the growth assumptions that we get from the Puget Sound Regional Council. Population growth, employment growth, those are the two most important ingredients for an effective transit system. And we know that population and employment are going to continue to grow. So we're interested in chasing that growth. And that's what this plan does. Some of the interesting actuals we see in the ridership, I think, bear out the direction we're headed, where we offer frequent, reliable service, 10-minute service, 15-minute service. Those routes are already back to 2020, 2019 levels. Swift Blue is doing great as far as ridership is concerned. So frequency and convenience are key. And that's also part of where this TDP is headed with the expansion of on-demand service, with the increase in frequency and span of service. So we're pretty confident we're guessing right on where that population and residential growth is, or employment growth is headed. But the proof will be in the doing. And so, yeah, we'll get to talk about it every year. Thank you.
Okay, I have one quick, I want to actually thank the entire staff for this report, because I read it all And the one thing that kept jumping out at me was the fact it covered everything. And so everybody was involved with this. And it is an incredible report. And I have a hard copy. Thank you, Rachel. And the reason for that is that I get asked questions. And if I don't have the answer, then I have to bug somebody, email them, find out whatever. And now I don't have to. I can read this and be able to give them the information they need. So thank you. You guys did an enormous job and it is much, much appreciated. So did you want to give us a motion?
Yeah, and I'll add my thanks to staff for the great work and make a motion to approve resolution 2-23.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. So our second action item is resolution 01-23, the hazard mitigation plan. Scott Eastman.
Chair, board members, thank you for this opportunity to present 0123, a resolution to adopt the county hazard mitigation plan. For those that may not be aware, hazard mitigation is the use of short and long-term strategies to reduce or alleviate the loss of life, personal injury, and property damage that may result from a disaster. The county hazard mitigation plan enables the county and its partners to maintain eligibility for disaster-related federal grant assistance as required by the 2000 Disaster Management Act. Additionally, the HMP helps the county and its partners meet or exceed FEMA's requirements. There are three major benefits to adopting the county hazard mitigation plan and attaching our annex to that plan. First one is risk reduction. Community Transit's hazard mitigation plan annex benefits our employees and customers by identifying the risks. This includes hazard probabilities, exposure, and vulnerabilities, assessing our capabilities, and identifying hazard mitigation actions or projects as informed by our risk and capability assessments. There's a value in putting a plan down on paper like this because it turns what might be a hope into a plan. The second part of this is collaboration and coordination. This resolution not only adopts the Snohomish County 2020 hazard mitigation plan, but tethers Community Transit's annex to that larger plan. In fact, Snohomish County reached out to Community Transit requesting that we be part of the hazard mitigation plan in recognition of Community Transit's vital role in disaster and hazard response. Adoption enhances coordination among other agencies and gives us the opportunity to partner on mitigation efforts and response training. And the last benefit is funding opportunities. Adopting the county HMP enables the county and its partners to maintain eligibility for disaster-related federal grant assistance as required by the 2000 Disaster Management Act. Community Transit must adopt the county hazard mitigation plan in order to have a FEMA-approved natural hazards mitigation plan. So this resolution does four things. It adopts the attached included Snohomish County 2020 Hazard Mitigation Plan, Volume 1 in its entirety. It adopts Snohomish County's 2020 Hazard Mitigation Planning Partner participation. It adopts the Community Transit Jurisdictional Annex in the Snohomish County 2020 Hazard Mitigation Plan, and it authorizes the CEO or designee to implement programs and policies necessary to implement this resolution. And I just want to acknowledge Darren Branham, our Senior Program Manager in charge of emergency management and continuity for his work on this. So we would appreciate your approval of Resolution 1-23.
Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, reading through here, this is very comprehensive and thank you for the hard work on that. In section 14.2.3, which is page 273, I guess, on the mitigation plan volume 2, it lists the jurisdictional looked like serves the following communities throughout Snohomish County. And I noticed that the not all of the communities in Snohomish County are represented in this list, and I just had questions on why that would be or what I'm missing on that.
I will let Darren pipe in, but my understanding is these are agencies that have adopted currently.
Correct. Not all the agencies or the cities in Snohomish County have adopted it. We're still waiting on a few.
Oh, okay, because there were some listed up above that were a part of the original consortium that came together in 2020 that are on that, but weren't on this, and so I've had questions. And then I guess my follow-up question on that is then if somebody didn't get if one of the agencies didn't get their paperwork done, can people adopt into this at a later time?
Yeah, I kind of anticipated one of the questions might be, why are we in 2023 adding a plan to a 2020 plan? And this is not uncommon, first of all. I think it's through 2025 that agencies can adopt the county plan. But COVID certainly put a kink in everybody's emergency management planning. And now I think a lot of agencies like our own are in a place where we were able to focus on this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, could I get a motion, please?
You can. I will move that the Board of Directors approve resolution number 01-23, adopting the 2020 Snohomish County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, our last action item, ITB 2023-079, the purchase of 5 supervisor replacement vehicles.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Mike Swela, Director of Maintenance, and I'm coming with a request to purchase 5 Ford F-150s. As part of our transit asset management plan, we set useful life benchmarks, and we're going to be replacing some 2016 vehicles they'll be 8 years old and have about 160,000 miles at time of replacement. So they've seen their use and it's time to retire them. The staff formed a working group of users to look at the available options through the Washington State contracts. So after reviewing life cycle costs, fuel types, availability, safety ratings, ergonomics, and things like that, they came up with the Ford F-150 Crew Cab Hybrid as the best choice. This purchase is going to be on the Washington State Vehicle Contract number 05916 through Bud Clary Ford. And the 2023 budget does include funds for the maintenance department to make this purchase. This one right now, truck and SUV availability is limited. And so we're asking for the flexibility to get an equivalent vehicle should these not be available. Our procurement department is actively working to secure our spot in line though. So we're fairly certain these will be available, but we're looking for that flexibility on the off chance that these are not. With that, I will request that the board of directors authorize the chief executive officer to negotiate and purchase 5 2023 Ford F-150 Crew Cab 4-wheel drive hybrids or equal vehicles using the Washington State Vehicle Contract number 05916 on ITB number 2023-079 from Bud Clary Ford Hyundai or another contractor on the Washington State Vehicle Contract based on availability for a not to exceed amount of $274,985.18. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Yes, Christine.
Question, why are we not buying electric vehicles? Why are we going with hybrid?
Well, this is it matches our strategy. We have other hybrid vehicles coming in later this year in the big bus side, and part of it's availability. I've heard, we looked at the Lightnings and those are, maybe a year plus out.
But they drive really great. I got an opportunity to do that one with one that the city buy. Yeah.
These are almost, this helps our maintenance staff get used to the electric vehicle. These hybrid F-150s, they have a 1.5 kilowatt hour battery. The electric motor is inside the transmission. So they're it's easing our transition, and it's part of our whole zero emission strategy to get there.
All right. As long as it's a strategy that we're getting to.
Absolutely.
That's great. Thanks.
So do these hybrid vehicles have to be charged, right, at some point?
No, these are not plug-in hybrids. These
okay.
The hybrid feature is automatic.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, I was curious about the same thing, Mayor Frizzell, in terms of, but then we've been waiting for 2 of the Lightnings for over a year for our public works. We finally received one for the fire department, but They did not name it after how quickly they deliver it. That is what we found. So thank you for not ordering. We'll be waiting for a while if you were ordering those. And it'll be interesting to see if the hybrids, you know, like we've run into they're going to stop making the buses. We'll probably get to that point where they're going to stop making hybrids in the vehicles. So hopefully you'll still be able to get parts and, you know, supposedly, right?
Yeah, oh, thank you. I need to learn more about hybrid and what it does. I thought it was partial, okay. Okay, can I get a motion then?
I'll move approval of the recommended motion that was read into the record by Mike.
Okay.
That way I don't have to read it again.
All those in
Second.
favor?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. You have your vehicles. Okay, we're almost done. Chair's report. I just have one thing to kind of jog your memory. Monday is 9/11. And some of us, touched more. Arlington had sent their firemen back to New York and picked up part of the Twin Towers, and we have a memorial. We will have a service on Monday night at 7 o'clock at Station 46, which is downtown Arlington, in case anyone would like to join us. Anyone else? I need a list to call down. If the board has any comment, Kim, you're first.
I'd like to thank Community Transit. They're going to participate in a job fair that the Lake Stevens Chamber of Commerce is putting on. I'm kind of excited about that. I appreciate them coming forward and helping us with that. Also, I am going to forward to the board later some plans that, and I don't know if some of the mayors already know about this, but our mayor is bringing in a speaker about the opioid and fentanyl problem. I don't have the date on that and time. Do you have that?
September 28th, yeah.
It's at 28 that.
In the evening at 6:30 at Cavallero, I believe.
Yeah, Cavallero Mid-High in Lake Stevens. And everybody's that wants to understand what's going on with the opioid and fentanyl should come listen to this renowned author on this. It's really good that we're bringing it in. I know the mayors have been getting together on this, trying to figure it out, but I think that it'll be eye-opening. So the first time we talked was some other just state type representatives. It really are eye-opening, and now we're getting another expert in too, and he's got books out on this and stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. So September 28th, everybody's welcome to come and find out what's going on. That's all I have. Thanks.
I have a question for Councilmember Daughtry. Is this the same individual that did the presentation at the county?
Yeah, it's Sam Quinones. Yes.
Yeah, Sam Quinones, yes.
Okay, Mayor Fritzel.
I also have a question. Any possibility that that's going to be recorded or zoomed?
I'm pretty sure we could make the recording happen. Cavallero Mid-High is not real good for doing streaming or anything. The auditorium's a little bit.
Still have dial-up.
It still has a little bit of a problem with the auditory part of it. So it's a little bit hard, but I'll see what we can do to get it recorded.
All right, that would be awesome.
Sure.
Just a little bit, I was able to get away during council break, and of all places went to London. 8 million people, a little more than what we've got going on here. But I got to tell you, I rode trains and planes and buses and boats and kayak the Thames. But I'm a little not jaded. I'm a little, I love the tube system. You know, that closely mirrors what we're looking at bringing into Linwood with light rail. And we've got a lot of lessons to learn. They've been at it a heck of a lot longer, but just it gives me so much hope as we combine all of our resources with the buses and everything to get people where they want to go. And it was efficient and you know, we had a few hitches because I'm new to the system, but it gives me great hope in that they can move their population around And their population has adapted to it over the years. I'm excited to not bring 8 million people into our county, but it can be done, and we're on the right road to getting it done.
Okay, Mayor Marine.
Thank you. And I would not let the auditory part of your auditorium dissuade people from coming. He's a great speaker. In fact, I've got his book and read it. It's called The Least of Us. It is a great book. You should get it and everybody should read it. But I just want to say on a lighter note that this weekend is the Lighthouse Festival in Mukilteo, and we'll have fireworks. We promise it'll be good weather on the waterfront. So come on down and join us. We would appreciate it.
Councilmember Mead.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Okay, I lost my place. Okay, Council,
Merrill.
oh. Tom, it's you. Sorry.
I
was still
wasn't going
going
to
down.
speak, but Mayor Frizell brought up for me that my son, who grew up in Snohomish and then lived in Kennewick and drove everywhere his whole life, just in this summer moved to the Bronx and sold his car and says he's never been happier. So riding the public transit. So that gives us an idea of where we're going now. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Neri.
We too have a 9/11 ceremony Monday at 8:30 at our civic campus. So
Cool.
want to come to that? Thank you.
Lance Norton.
I have nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
He's not here. No, there he is.
I see his name. Okay. Mayor Roberts.
Yeah, I just wanted to extend thanks to Community Transit for putting up with all our road closures in Stanwood this summer. We had quite a few projects, and I was walking down Main Street, and one of the drivers at one of our routes, I think, was new, and she hadn't been informed, and some of the things just happened, right? And they just stopped in the road, and I think they called 911. I mean, what do we do? So it was kind of a mess, but we appreciated the help from Community Transit, and we're getting to where we need to go there. So we appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Dunn. Is she there? Councilmember Gallagher. Did he say no? Councilmember Payne.
Nothing for me, thank you.
Mayor Thompson. Okay, and Mayor Wright.
I don't have anything to add there, but I do have one comment that I wanted to make from a actual bus rider who's a friend of mine. He said that the 2 hour, when you do transfers, apparently you can only transfer within the 2 hour period. And if you're coming from the airport all the way to Mill Creek or in this area, 2 hours is not enough. And so he's at the end of the trip, he sometimes has to pay for another fare. So that's just something I wanted to add for you guys to take a look at. Thanks.
Okay, is that everything? Does anyone have anything else? Okay, we do not have an executive session, so we are adjourned.